What's up guys, so today I'll be talking about 3 photos that helped me win competitions, and along this video I'll be dropping a little bit of tips of photography that I have personally used in my photos. And by no means I consider myself as a professional photographer, it's just that I have a very strong passion for it and sharing what I can to all of you. So without further ado, let's begin with the first photo. So here is the first image, and I really love this photo because I feel like it's the kind of image that you can only envision when you're overseas, but not really in Singapore. And I really love taking landscapes, but you know in Singapore you don't really have much landscapes to take, so this is a very personal favorite of mine. The name of this competition is Singapore Photographers Award 2019. It was one of the first few competitions that I have submitted my photos for, and the reward was just a consolation prize. But regardless, it was my first time submitting my photo for a competition, and I was really proud of it, even though I just got a small certificate for it. More on how I got this shot. Location wise, I shot it along the stretch of Tanjong Rhu, opposite Gardens by the Bay. As you can see, the sun is already setting, so I shot it around 7 PM ish, so right after golden hour, which is also called blue hour, and the sun was already setting, so I had not much light to play with. So I had to go for a long exposure shot of about 30 seconds. And these 30 seconds allow me to have the silky smoothness of the water and then the motion blur in the clouds, as you can see in the image itself. So tip number 1, shoot during golden or blue hours to get the best light for your photos. In terms of framing, I wanted more sky, so I set the horizon on the lower thirds. I tried to even out the sides, making sure there wasn't too much or too little space or buildings at the edges. As for the edits, here are the side-by-side comparison of the raw image and the edited image. And yes, obviously it is very different, but you can tell I went for the orange and teal look. And for those who don't know what's orange and teal, it is what it is lah, orange and teal lah. Apart from that, I wanted to enhance the blues to make it less down, and as you can see from the raw image, it looks like a gloomy day rather than a sun setting image. So tip number 2, editing your images but do not over-edit them. Tip number 2, editing your images but do not over-edit them. When I was a much younger photographer, I used to not edit my images because it's not true to what I see. But as I grew and found out that not all images suited a non-edited look, and then on the other hand, I used to over-edit my images of increasing the contrast and the clarity, which makes it look like after all these years of doing photography, I've learned my lesson of not under-editing them and over-editing them. So there's a nice balance in between. So yeah, this is the first photo that has won a competition, though it's just a consolation prize. I really love this photo very much. On to the second image, and for this competition, it allowed us to submit more than one photo, which I decided to submit 2 photographs to tell a better story. And this competition name is Montage 2020, conducted by NUS Photographic Society, and I was awarded honorable mention. So tip number 3, submit photos to any competition and you might probably win. But if you don't, learn from the winners. Basically, my images was good but not good enough, but therefore they gave me honorable mention. But nonetheless, for those who know me well, I really love climbing mountains in Indonesia, and these images was taken during my climb at Mount Merbabu. And here is a short footage of how dangerous it was to climb that mountain. The first image was actually taken when we were climbing down the mountain. I was staying at the back with the guide having a chat, and I was standing on this rock, and then this image appeared before my eyes, with Mount Merapi on the opposite side and showing the steepness of Mount Merbabu, and my friends clumsily climbing down the mountain. And as for framing wise, I'm very OCD, so basically I just tried to centralize the mountain to the image and the horizon as straight as possible. And the second image was taken near the summit, and the person inside the image was my friend. At first he was facing the sunrise taking a photo, and then when I took one photo of him, it didn't actually look very nice. And just so happened when he was turning, I decided to capture again, looking at his phone, and then the tip of his hat nicely glide the brim of the sunrise, causing the glare. As for framing this image, I did similarly to the previous image where I centralized everything. Tip number 4, try to use rule of thirds into your framing of images. As for editing wise, here is a side-by-side comparison of the raw images and edited images. Same as the first image that I've shown you just now, not all images I edit are like teal and orange. It just so happened that those that I submitted won, which are teal and orange. So edit your photos like teal and orange, then maybe you can win. And yeah, I really love these images and their experiences behind it. So what photography really means to me is the story behind it. So let me give you a little bit of context behind these images. So first, the mountain we climbed was 3,200 meters high above sea level. Second, we started the climb at 11 PM the night before. And lastly, when I submitted the mountain, I did not have at least 27.69345678 hours of sleep. So, on to the next image. And last but not least, my last image, which came in as a shocker for me because for those that know my photography style, I don't particularly enjoy shooting these kind of images, which is portraits. The name of the competition that I submitted for was Sony Singapore Challenge, and for the theme of that month was portraits. And as for the reward, what I got was a $100 voucher of Secret Labs chair, which I then used to buy this chair. So more about this image is that it was actually taken in Hoi An, Vietnam. We were walking along the night market and we saw this uncle sitting on the floor selling these knickknacks. Can you see? And what caught our attention was his bright smile despite being partially disabled. So we sat down with him, have a chat, and then bought these knickknacks for him. So tip number 5, if you are like an introvert like I am and do not know how to direct people, make someone talk to the person and then take the images candidly. For example, this image where my girlfriend was actually speaking to him and then I sneakily took a couple of shots of him. And then one of these images is the one that won me this chair. So for this particular shot, I was using a prime lens of 50mm f1.8. So tip number 6. Use prime for portraits as it generally gives a sharper image and a better bokeh effect. As for editing this image, I didn't really do much, but what I did was just to enhance the colors and make the image brighter. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the raw image and the edited image. As you can tell, there's not much of a difference between both of them. And for framing wise, what I did was I tried to align his eyes to the top rule of third, but what I can say is that his smile speaks 1,000 words. This is the end of the video. I just want to thank you so much for staying all the way to the end. I hope you have picked a tip or two for you to use in your photography, and I hope you like what I've done here. If you enjoyed this video so much, please remember to like, share and subscribe, and bye.